Hi guys, I just thought I'd make a video to show you how to use the template that came with your assignment sheet. So this is going through how to write an exposition. So an exposition is an argument for whatever you're writing about. So in this case, the argument is for your technology being the most important technology to do with light that there is. And you'll see here, first of all, you can see there's some little numbers here. This is just a suggested order of how you do things. If you have a look at this box up the top here is what you're going to use to write your introduction. Down the bottom here, there are three sort of horizontal boxes here. Each one of those is a paragraph on one of your arguments. And then there's a box down here for your conclusion and for your bibliography. So we're going to start with the numbers 1. So first of all, we need to write our topic. Now, I'm just going to do this for the telescope, because that just seems like a fairly straightforward example to do. And then what I'm going to do is come down here for number 1, and I'm going to list 3 reasons why the telescope is the most important technology. So first of all, I'm going to write it helped early explorers. Second of all, maybe I could write we have been able to see distant stars. Now you can do this handwritten or you can do it digitally. And my third one is we've been able to map galaxies in the universe. Okay, I've just come up with those. If you're writing about the telescope, you can do whatever you want. You just need to come up with 3 reasons why the telescope is so important. Now if you come down, number 2 are the first sentences of each of your paragraphs. Now the way we're going to construct those sentences is by writing what we call a connective, then a noun, and then our argument. So for our connectives, we're actually going to keep this really simple. Our first connective is going to be the word firstly. Our second one is going to be the word secondly. And our last one is going to be the word finally with a comma. For our nouns, I'm going to write the telescope. I'm going to write the telescope. The telescope. And then each of my arguments is going to come from those 3 boxes. So let's construct the sentence. Firstly, the telescope helped early explorers find new countries. Just making this up. Secondly, the telescope allows us to see distant stars. Microsoft Word is just capitalizing those, but this is reading as a full sentence when you write it out. And finally, the telescope has enabled us to map distant galaxies. You can write these however you want, but you can see how I constructed those sentences. Okay, so now I've just done the first sentence of each of those paragraphs. We're going to fill in some details here later. Now I'm going to come up to 3. Now 3 is actually my introduction. Now in the case of what you're writing, number 3 is actually explaining what the device is and how it works. So I might just start this off by saying the telescope is a device which enables us to see things that are far away. A really simple definition of what a telescope is. And then in these 2 sentences, you could fill in the details of how a telescope actually works. And you might use more than 2 sentences. You might use a whole paragraph, maybe even 2 paragraphs. That's fine. Then I'm going to write my linking sentence. Now the linking sentence is really important because it links what we've just said with the argument that we're about to make. So in this case, the linking sentence that I'm going to write is the telescope is the most important device using light for 3 reasons. So this is linking the telescope with what I'm about to tell you. So I'm telling the reader what I'm about to tell them, which is really important in writing so that whoever's reading knows what's going on. Okay, so now for part 4, what I'm going to do is actually fill in my details, and this is where your research actually comes in. And this is where, if you look at the assignment sheet, you're going to be discussing the effect that this device has had on the benefits that it's brought to humanity, maybe some jobs that it's created, and you might also talk about how it was developed. So you would actually fill this in with more sentences elaborating on how it helped early explorers find new countries. Now, some ways you might want to do that are to use an example. So e.g., and you could find an example online of an explorer. I don't know many explorers. Captain Cook used one, and you could fill in the details there. You could say a little bit about the development. You could say how many were used. All of those sorts of questions you could use to elaborate on this particular argument. Now, finally, once you've done all of that, we can come down and write a conclusion. I'm happy with a really simple conclusion, something like, in conclusion, so we're telling the reader what we're about to tell them. We're telling the reader, this is my conclusion. The telescope is the most important invention because it allows us to see distant stars, map galaxies, and helped early explorers find new lands. And then obviously, if we come up here, number 6 is visual literacy. So now we can look at what diagrams we might want to include into our report. So this is diagrams. And then if we come back here to to part 7, this is our bibliography. So this is where you would list all of the resources that you've used. Okay, so hopefully that helps. The idea with this is to give some structure to what you're writing. It makes it easier for you to figure out where to put all of the information that you find out, and hopefully that'll help you do a better job of writing this up. Thank you for watching.